Test. Alright, mic's working. Hang on. I'll send this stream out because I don't know if this is a sick joke or what's going on. So I'll do a brief analysis of the media. We'll compare one form of media versus another. One is, albeit free, the other is paid for, but by far is a higher quality and actually tells you and can actually help you. Now it's really bad because it's like everything I cover, I'm soft shilling it. Like I'm covering Hex, soft shilling it. Covering these newsletters, soft shilling it. Not so much soft shilling the the news articles I'm coming across for free that we all consume. Not really soft shilling InfoWars because again, all of this isn't unofficial, man. Anything I cover. So what we've got is, I don't know, like I said, if this is a sick joke or if this is people can't see this, or people think that for whatever reason that some outlets are telling them the truth and all the truth and nothing but the truth to help them God, because I am seeing a different. Oh, cool. Very nice. Travel would be nice. Alright. This one might go for a little bit longer. But like I said, I don't know if this is, I'm pretty sure other people can see this. It's not just me. So I thought I'll cover this because it's pretty straightforward. But you have to really look at what we're being fed. We're kind of being fed like mushrooms, as so the saying goes. We have the I'm sorry. This is just hilarious. I'm kind of getting excited to cover this sort of stuff because seeing how lacking some of the mainstream media is, for whatever reason. I don't know if it's their reporters or if it's their analysts, like quote unquote analysts. But when you have someone like me or any other normal hexagon that can see patterns and logic far better than any paid for shill mainstream media reporter in various topics across the board, because there's a lot of us, it's kind of an indicator where the future might be headed and how we as a collective group are heading, not just within the hexagon sphere or the cryptocurrency sphere, but globally. I think that with free and open internet and platforms like Twitter, which are becoming more free and open, thank you to Elon Musk, we are going to see a new emergent property of people who are informed. Now, it's going to be far greater than anything else I think we've ever witnessed in history, or anything else I've ever witnessed in history, because, I'm not that old. I haven't been through that much. But I call it the global awakening. Now, we see the World Economic Forum talking about the Great Reset or whatever it is, and politicians, but then we see Ardern retire. We also see her policies, which were very close to the Canadian Prime Minister's Trudeau's policies in regards to the COVID vaccinations, the mandates, and similar. So it's quite possible that, well, not quite possible, based on that, one can only hope that maybe the Canadian Prime Minister will decide to step down, because no one likes him. No one likes his policies. the people that do like his policies are suddenly going to go quiet because they're kind of realizing what it was that they were spewing out. Now, let's go to the news. I use that very loosely. The Guardian. This is 1 hour ago, maybe a little bit more, it came out. Heading is US heads for a debt ceiling standoff as House Republicans refuse to budge. Now, it goes on to say hard right Republicans say no to clean debt ceiling increase, raising dire possibilities of US defaulting on financial obligations. Now, I think I need to read this in a dramatical soap opera sort of voice because this is what the mainstream media would have you believe. They provide no answers except to tune in for tomorrow's latest scoop. The US economy could be headed for a crisis manufactured by a handful of House Republicans. The evil Republicans, ooh. And the crisis, ooh. The Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen informed congressional leaders on Thursday that the US has hit its debt ceiling, which limits the amount of money that the government can borrow to pay all of its bills. Yellen urged Congress to work as quickly as possible to raise the debt ceiling and prevent the US from defaulting on any of its financial obligations, which would have catastrophic consequences. It is therefore critical that Congress act in a timely manner to increase or suspend the debt limit. Yellen warned in a letter sent last week, failure to meet the government's obligations would cause irreparable harm to the US economy, the livelihoods of all Americans, and global financial stability. The dire language from the nation's top economic official underscored the urgency of Congress's task and appeared to represent an attempt to deter any lawmaker from toying with the idea of default. Some House Republicans have chosen to do so anyway. Members of the hard right. This is the suspense building. You know the article. They've cited twice. It's the Republicans' fault. And there's a crisis coming, and Yellen has tried to warn. She's trying to do her thing. But what is coming? Oh, we've got to stay tuned, you know. We then have the dire language from the nation's top economic official underscored the urgency of Congress's task and appeared to represent an attempt to deter any lawmaker from toying with the idea of default. Some House Republicans chose to anyway. Members of the hard right House Freedom Caucus have already promised to oppose a clean debt ceiling increase, meaning a bill that raises the national borrowing limit without any other policy concessions. We cannot raise the debt ceiling, the Arizona Congress Andy Biggs said on Tuesday. Democrats have carelessly spent our taxpayer money and devalued our currency. They've made their bed, so they must lie in it. I mean, kind of agree with that. Congress Majority Taylor Greene from Georgia echoed that sentiment on Wednesday, telling Fox News, I, for one, will not sign a clean bill raising the debt limit. Setting aside the fact that individual members of Congress do not sign bills, the comments from lawmakers like Greene have intensified concerns over a potential default this summer. Ooh, the potential default. What's going to happen? Stay tuned because we're going to tell you, or maybe we're not, because we already know what's going to happen. But we're not going to tell you. This is what I'm understanding. This is why I'm trying not to laugh, because it's like a theater. As of now, the Treasury is deploying extraordinary measures to keep paying its bills, but those options may be exhausted as early as June. The US has never failed to raise or suspend its debt ceiling, so most Americans are probably unfamiliar with the potential consequence of a default. Experts fear that the crisis would force the Treasury to essentially choose which of its creditors to pay, and those decisions would carry legal ramifications while financially harming any number of institutions that rely on government funding. See, because you got primed in your mind, default is coming. You got primed in your mind, crisis is coming. You got primed in your mind, it's the Republicans and the far right who are against funding medical bills for the government. Now, the US has never failed to raise or suspend its debt ceiling, so most Americans are probably unfamiliar. Yeah, we went over that. Doctors in hospitals who provide service to Medicare beneficiaries wouldn't be getting paid what they're owed, said Paul van der Walter, Senior Fellow at Centre on Budget and Policy Priorities. Now, they wouldn't be paid in a timely manner, maybe they should have said. They wouldn't be paid. Maybe they should finish their sentences, I'm not sure. It's a bad habit I have, I know. I tend to not finish my entire sentences. Now, a progressive think tank. Defense contractors wouldn't be getting paid in their full amounts. Veterans wouldn't receive the full... When I say I don't finish my sentences, it's because most of the time people should already know this. Veterans wouldn't receive the full benefits to which they are entitled, and on and on and on. So it's the freedom far right who are punishing doctors and veterans because they were having a dig at the Democrats because they said they've made their bed and must lie in it. Maybe they could add further context, I'm not sure. And I'm not sure if this particular article has any bias to it. But we'll go on. A failure to address the debt ceiling would simultaneously cause irreparable damage to the reputation of the US Treasury, and that recalculation would trickle down to consumers. So it will affect you. So you're going to be angry at the Republicans because they're hurting the doctors and the veterans because they're far right. And if Congress fails to raise the debt ceiling, it would trigger a risk premium for any financial transaction benchmarked to the Treasury, said Gordon Gary, Director of Fiscal Policy at the center-right think tank American Action Forum. And what's benchmarked to the Treasury? Pretty much every financial instrument that consumers have. Your credit card, your mortgage, Gary said. Any number of interactions that the public has with financial markets would be affected by this. So what does that actually mean? For many economic experts, the looming crisis has sparked grim flashbacks for the 2011 standoff over the debt ceiling. At the time, Republicans had just regained control of the House and found themselves going toe-to-toe with Barack Obama over the debt ceiling. Republicans were demanding cuts in government spending in exchange for supporting a debt ceiling increase. I laugh because this reminds me of, because I don't engage a lot with US politics because I don't have a great depth of understanding of it. But when I watched this TV show, the missus watches it, has Tim Allen in it. I think it's called She's the Man or something like that. And he's got a family of daughters. And one of the scenes, his character says, "Oh, we're just going to spend our way out of trouble." And he says, "Oh crap, we've turned into Democrats." Maybe that's what's being referenced here, that they tend to spend a lot. It is similar to our current government in Australia. We have Liberals and Labor. Arguably, the Labor is aligned more with the Democratic policies in that they tend to spend a lot more money, which is not always a bad thing because sometimes you want to spend to stimulate or whatever you need to do. But when you're in debt and you keep spending and spending and spending, that can become an issue, I think, anyway. But what do I know? Leading to Democrats' accusation they are recklessly spending, endangering the US economy, advancing their own political agenda. Because, it's the evil Republicans. Okay, so the standoff ended with the passage of the Budget Control Act, which raised the debt ceiling and outlined significant cuts in the government spending. Some House Republicans now appear to be hoping for similar spending cuts in the exchange for a debt ceiling hike, escalating the risk of default. And let's cover what default actually means later on, hey? Gary was a policy advisor to former Republican Senator Rob Portman when the 2011 crisis unfolded, and he expressed concern that the next debt ceiling fight could bring the US economy even closer to calamity. I believe the risks are heightened now in a way that they have not been, certainly since 2011, and very possibly the risks are greater now than they were then, he said. The protracted fight over the House speakership earlier this month only heightened Gary's fears. Kevin McCarthy was elected Speaker on the 15th ballot, following a days-long revolt from 20 members of the House Republican Conference. Again, don't know how this is relevant, not heavily involved in US politics. They could agree that the sky was blue for a week, Kerry said. The individuals involved in that episode are the same folks who are signaling a disinclination to increase the debt limit. McCarthy has indicated his interest in negotiating with the White House over a debt ceiling bill, downplaying concerns over a potential default. Now, why is that? We don't want to put any fiscal problems on our economy, and we won't, he said last week. But fiscal problems would be continuing to do business as usual. So we've got to try and figure out what's going on. Whose side are we on? How are we going to run the government? Where's the money going to come from? The veterans, the doctors. The political show that's being orchestrated in front of our eyes is hilarious to some. So far, Joe Biden has shown no willingness to entertain the idea of cutting government spending in exchange for raising the debt ceiling. Because why do you want to cut government spending? Why do you want smaller government? You want bigger government. You want larger government. That's how you get more freedoms, yeah? Well, that hasn't been working too well so far, I think, across the world. We're not going to negotiate over the debt ceiling, the White House press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said on Tuesday. This should not be a political football, and we should not do it without conditions. The demands from the House Republicans strike Democrats as particularly outrageous because of their own bipartisanship approach to the debt ceiling in the past. During Donald Trump's presidency, Democrats worked with Republicans to suspend the debt ceiling 3 times. At the time, congressional Republicans made no attempt to lower government spending while addressing the debt ceiling. During Trump's presidency, Republicans took a seemingly cavalier attitude when it came to reducing government debt in 2017. Cavalier. Sounds like a breed of a dog. Let me look this one up. Kind of insult. Okay, so when it came to reducing the government debt in 2017, the Republicans passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, even after the Congressional Budget Office projected that the legislation would increase the federal deficit by nearly $1.5 trillion over the following decade. Who cares? You know, that's the later on problem. Right now, we just need to get paid. We need to pay our bills. Clearly, the approach that is taken seems to vary depending upon the political climate of the moment, Van der Water said. As of now, it remains unclear how the latest debt ceiling standoff will resolve itself. It's unclear. It's just so unclear, we don't know how it's going to work. The White House and the holdout Republican lawmakers have only reiterated their demands, and the clock is ticking to avoid severe economic tumult that could be felt worldwide. Now, I'm guessing tumult is a derivative of turmoil. No, it's different. A loud, confused noise, especially one caused by large amounts of people. I learned a new word today. Tumult. Doesn't sound right. Anyway. Something's got to give. Something's got to give, Gary said. My hope is that it's not the financial markets first. So maybe it's another excuse if the the markets go down, then maybe it's because of the spending, something to do with this debt ceiling. We're gonna run out of money. Okay, that's the theater of the mainstream of the somewhat harmless article written by this particular reporter. I have not researched at all, and we shall compare that to something like from a proper analyst. Now, the proper analyst. What does the proper analyst say? Well, let's have a look. So we've heard how the media carries on and gives you a lot of data, but doesn't really give you context behind it, whether or not they know, whether or not it's intentional, or whether or not it's more of a soft shill to keep you coming back, because they didn't tell you how they're going to fix it, but once they're here, they'll let you know. If they told you what was going to happen, why would you bother going back to them if you already knew what was going to happen? You probably wouldn't, you know? So we have here, we bear grim news. Uncle Samuel has rammed his wakey head against the debt ceiling. Another word I have no idea what it is. Let's look up wakey. Am I saying that right? Oh, I'm saying that right. Having whelks, ridges, or protuberances. Street. Okay, these guys have a pretty good vocabulary. Now, the debt ceiling is set to 31.4 trillion. Okay, so this is an analyst point of view. Remember what we just heard. You don't know what's happening. It's doctors and veterans going to be affected, and the market's going to be affected, and it's all the Republicans' fault, and the far right, and the freedom movement or something on it there. But then it said the Democrats didn't want to reduce spending. That's what the Republicans were blaming them. But they said, oh, but previously they worked with them. I don't know what's going on. And so they'll argue about it, carry on making show, and they'll drag it on and on and on and on. Unless Congress votes to haul the jacks out of storage and elevate the debt ceiling once more, the United States government can issue no additional debt and risk default as its cupboards run bare. Come the evil day when the China is at last depleted. Every manner of calamity would ensue, chaos and old night. Here you would have them, and then some. The federal government would slam its door on the noses of American people. They'll be forced upon very lean rations and thrown into severe desperation. Meantime, the federal government's creditors would go scratching as it defaults on its debt. Economic woe would spread and spread in the ever-widening circles, even to the world beyond. So it would affect us here in Australia, potentially. Now, run for the hills. Reports CNN in its breath bated, its voice crackling, its hands quaking. The US hit, okay, this is the CNN version. The US hit the debt ceiling set by Congress on Thursday, forcing the Treasury Department to start taking extraordinary measures to keep the government paying its bills and escalating pressure on Capitol Hill to avoid catastrophic default. Fears are growing that the partisan brinkmanship could result in nations defaulting on its debt for the first time ever. Excuse me, and this sounds very familiar to The Guardian. Treasury. I want to copy paste that. Let's copy paste that, eh? And we'll see if we can find anything. So we will copy paste this. And we will go over to Guardian. Oh, it just sounded familiar. That exact quote wasn't actually in the other article. Now, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen wrote a letter to House Speaker Kevin McCarthy Thursday informing him that the nation's outstanding debt is its statutory limit of $31.4 trillion and that the agency will implement extraordinary measures so it doesn't default on its debt, which would have enormous consequences on the US economy, global financial stability, and many Americans. She said the measures would last through June 5th. Okay, what does that mean? That is, Ms. Yellen estimates she maintains the wherewithal to keep the government apparatus in funds through June 5th, approximately. So they kind of left that out of the other article. They kind of said it's imminent death is coming. Doctors, veterans, your 401k, your savings, all because of the right-leaning Republicans who don't want to work with the Democrats. Okay, So they kind of left out, June 5th though, to have funding until anyway. So that would mean they would have some time to maybe go over things and work things out and go through the political process. But anyway, who cares about that, right? Extraordinary measures. This she will accomplish through an application of extraordinary measures. Of what will these consist in? As part of the debt issuance suspension period, the agency will begin to sell existing investments and suspending reinvestments of the Civil Retirement and Disability Fund and the Postal Service Retiree Health Benefits Fund. Also, it will suspend the reinvestment of a government securities fund of the Federal Employees Retirement System Thrift Savings Plan. How the nation can endure such privations as these, we do not know, yet we must discover ways to guide it along as we can. Our hearts are particularly with the civil servants, postal servants, and federal employees who will absorb the heaviest blows. They suffer mighty as is, simply ask them, and they will tell you, now reinvestment into the health and retirement funds are being suspended to meet higher obligations. Yet we cringe most for our nation's reputation and its dignity. So that's actually what's going to happen. June 5th though, if nothing happens. The full faith and credit of the United States is at stake. I left them off. I thought if I was ever going to speak publicly at council or something like that about anything, I won't be able to use my big giant glasses, so it might not have the same effect. I did decide to cut my hair because I made a stream the other day and I was streaming through a phone in the shed. I was able to look at myself and go, okay, I need to improve some stuff. That's what I thought anyway. That's what I learned. Back to this. So this is the breakdown of the media's take, which is fair enough. They're allowed to shield their stuff and get you coming back for more. Versus analysts' information that you pay for, because they're analysts and you pay them to do that. Well, not pay them to do like work for you when you buy a subscription for a newsletter, but you're buying, data produced by analysts versus reading what everyone else is reading on the mainstream media and being sort of strung along by your nose. This is the narrative. Like when you see the YouTube videos where people are repeating the exact same talking point across multiple channels about the same topic, it's almost like a form of brainwashing. You could compare it to if you were watching this throughout the day, having it running in the background, having it on the radio, and the same talking point just keeps like being drilled into you. I don't know if you ever randomly like remember an ad jingle or something where you see something and like you repeat it. It's quite scary what they're doing, I think. But at the same time, it's kind of funny because you have, one is better than the other, and I'm trying to explain this to some other people. I mean, Hexicans get it, but some other people, I'm not sure they do. As I said before, there's many Hexicans, and we're far and wide, and we understand a lot from all different aspects of being. Now, the full faith and credit of the United States is at stake. The world's greatest power simply cannot be permitted to careen into default, as Ms. Yellen pleaded in a letter to Congress. I respectfully urge Congress to act promptly and to protect the full faith and credit of the United States. I just keep thinking of her speaking. The person holds up the buy Bitcoin in the back and they screenshot it. That's pretty funny. As well, act to protect the virtue of a streetwalker. What? Streetwalker. So we're streetwalkers now. Okay. Here is the Treasury Secretary's argument stripped to its core. So what if Congress has demonstrated a limitless inability to balance the ledgers? So what if Congress cannot rein itself in and limit spending to the proceeds of honest taxation? So what? We are simply told the show must continue. We must elevate the debt ceiling this year, and if need be next year. The year after that, one, without world without end. We must defend our virtue, even at the very price of our soul. The bad guy is the good guy, and vice versa. If you attempt to impose a hold on the business, you are reckless and irresponsible hellcat willing to risk the full faith and credit of the United States, such as it is. That is, the grand villains of this tale are not the spenders who bust through debt ceilings and plunge the nation deeper into debt. It is instead the prudent and fiscally responsible fellow. It is the concerned caretaker of the nation's finances. It is the honest and earnest man after a sound and sustainable accounting. This is our national fee fi fo fum. He must be locked in a cage, else he risks the full faith and credit abysses of default. Whoa, hang on, that was weird. Sorry about that, people. I just randomly dropped. Interesting. Anyway, hopefully it's still streaming and recording and uploading to the servers. Now, this is our national. Wrong, shrieks our former colleague David Stockholm. Wrong, very wrong. The crying wolf. This is why it's interesting to hear other points of view other than the same talking points over and over and over that we get drilled into believing is true and is fact, and we will it into existence because of enough of us all hear the same message, we believe it. Just like when they thought space aliens were invading because they heard it on the radio and they didn't know it was just a TV show, a play being played out. Such is the power of media. Whether or not you program or are being programmed is the question. Now, the crying wolf. The calamity howlers are hawking a false tale, argues David. Failure to elevate the debt ceiling does not equal default. Do not forget the federal government hauls in loads of tax money each month. It can meet its debt obligations with these monies. It may endure something of a squeeze, yes, but will not fall into default. Remember? June 5th. But the mainstream media article makes it sound like it's just around the corner, default's coming. It's like it's about to hit us all. The end is nigh. It's like, hang on, this is how it actually works. What will actually work. Here, David pounds his table with two tightly clenched fists. Failure to raise the debt ceiling absolutely does not mean default. In the most recent month, Uncle Sam took in about 252 billion of receipts, or 5.4 times the 47 billion monthly cost of net debt service. The great beltway lie is that the president is powerless to make these interest payments from available receipts. In fact, rather than prioritizing other spending and allocating the remaining revenues to those priorities, it is claimed the president must sit on his hands, making default unavoidable and instantaneous. That's a damn lie. So, you heard it here, you heard it everywhere on the mainstream media, you've heard it on the nightly TV, news stations. Oh, wait, they kind of forget to tell you that. It's just a small detail, like, it's just a little bit. It doesn't matter. They're not lying. They're just leaving out a little bit of data. So it's not technically a lie, but that's actually what's happening. But you got to remember that the debt ceiling is imminent, and it's all because of the right-wing people who want freedom and not working with the Democrats, and they're going to kill all of the doctors and all the veterans. That's what they'll have you believe, based on their theatre that they present and the way they frame things in the mainstream media and present it to the masses. Sorry. It's just, I just had to do this live on stream to try and just point out the BS. Now, a damn lie, David calls it. This is some other stuff. Won't cover that. Now, what crisis? Here, David radios in support from Mr. Mick Mulvaney, like David before him. Mr. Mulvaney is a former congressman who also commanded the Office of Management and Budget. This is what Fellows said about October 2013 debt ceiling crisis. We're not going to default. There is no default. There's an Office of Management and Budget directive from the 1980s. The last time we got fairly close to not raising the debt ceiling, that clearly lays out the process by which the Treasury Secretary prioritizes interest payments. Are you not convinced, dear David? Conscripts into his cause the very Dean of Liberal Constitutional Experts, Harvard Law School's Lawrence Tribe. Several weeks prior to the Great August 2011 debt crisis, Professor Tribe declares as follows. What is the government to do if it does not have enough money to make all of the expenditures that Congress has required by law? The answer is, I think that it must prioritize expenditures. Some payments simply have to be postponed until Treasury has enough money to make them. There you have it. David adds, simple as pie. So, maybe the mainstream media, their analysts, maybe they're not the best, maybe, just maybe. I don't know. Easier said than done. Simple as pie, yes, in theory. Yet in practice, harder than Damascus steel. How many congressmen will agree to scissor the credit card upon which their political career depends? The question is the answer, as David argues with great precision. The Imperial City fears these words more than Dracula feared a glittering crucifix. Wicked Congress. Yet, we are extremely confident that Imperial City will emerge victorious. Certain House Republicans will raise a rumpus. They will do a lot of shouting against elevating the debt limit. Yet they'll be cried down. The debt ceiling will be elevated certainly by June 5th. Depend on it. And so the soda can will go kicking down the road. Once again, if wrong, we will devour these words without salt. Yeah, we depart with a biblical injunction against profitless. Oh my god, I can't even speak. Oh my god. This is like the fifth, the fifth word. I'm like scratching my head. At least I need to pull out my law dictionary. Now let's see what is
profligacy.
Profligacy.
Profligacy. Profligacy.
Profligacy. Reckless, extravagance, or wasteful in the use of resources. The flexing is very. Let's profligacy. Oh my god.
Profligacy.
Profligacy flex. Yeah. Now where was it? For we fear divine retribution. It is our sincere wish that Congress take it aboard, though we are certain it will not. The wicked borroweth and payeth not again. Regards. But yeah, so there you go. That is actually what is going to happen. But you're going to hear the big clown world carry on and tell you how the end of the world is coming. Because as we saw, in this article, it closes with something's got to give. Something's got to give. Gary said, my hope is that it's not the financial markets first. It's very theatrical. As of now, it remains unclear how the latest debt ceiling standoff will resolve itself. The White House and the holdout Republican lawmakers will only have reiterated their demands, and the clock is ticking to avoid severe economic turmoil that could be felt worldwide. It's like, yeah, but wait, June 5th, and you've got enough money And then if you haven't got enough money by June 5th, you're probably going to raise it because you still have enough money because you would have raised more money by June 5th, you know. It's like saying, I'm going to run out of money by June 5th, but I'm still working. So, you know, what's going to happen on June 5th? It's like, yeah, but you're still working. But I'm going to run out of money. It's like, yeah, but you're still working. No, but that's the logic I'm seeing. It's insane. Oh my God, it's quite funny. I find it funny. I honestly don't understand how other people, like, not Mexicans, are not seeing this, you know. Alright, let's put my big glasses on me. The big bug eyes. Will it work? I think I should just turn into a bit of corn for the entire stream and try and do a serious stream. It's like a bit of corn jumping around. Or like a dragon fruit. I could go Matrix on everything, but nah, we'll go with this one. I like this one. So there you have it, people. If you caught this on the replay, that's what's actually going to happen. Maybe we make a bet for $1. Now we have, while all of that's going on, so that's how, you know, different sets of data can come to different conclusions. That is how people can be told one thing, how people can be presented a narrative which seemed very valid and logical, but then someone else can crush that narrative and crush that logic, and it no longer seems valid or logical. So, talking about things that can crush people's logic at times, we have the New World Order being created in Davos. So while people are worried about how the US is going to run out of money very soon, the group Davos is getting together to create a New World Order. And how do we know that they're actually saying this? Like, maybe this is just all made up bullshit. Excuse my language, but we have here, let's watch them and let's hear what they're actually saying and telling the world. Here we go.
Here at WEF, I believe we're discussing, there's a lot of discussion about what the new world order will be, or how, even in the context of our new Helsinki, how do we work towards that new normative international order that allows us to address our differences and disputes as the civilized world. And I believe perhaps we are at the moment in such a hyper-partisan, hyper-polarized time that we're not going to be able to perform that new Helsinki today. But I hope going forward we are able to do. I mean, we must form. We must and improve our normative and international institutional order internationally, so that.
This, and let's replay that.
Institutional order internationally, so that we can address these complex institutional order internationally, so that we can normative and international institutional order internationally, and improve our normative and international and improve our normative and international institutional order.
International institutional
internationally, so that we can address these complaints. I hope this time round, once we're building this new world order or new rules-based order.
Oh yeah, this time round, once we're building your cage and your prison, you streetwalkers,
the voice of the global South and the developing world is included.
Okay, yeah. I'm not voting for that guy. I didn't vote for that guy. How are these people running the world?
We have to take care of the rules of the international law and really respect that and not change.
I know, right? Like, everyone's going to get the jab, everyone's going to eat the bugs, and you're going to own nothing and be happy.
Change it in a time when there are countries that.
And we're working on central bank digital currency is going to be issued by your local, your national government, and you're gonna love it. All right?
Choose the way not to respect them, and Russia chose that way. So we have countries that are respecting the rules, and we have countries that are respecting their national interests going beyond the rules. And that is what
hang on, wait. What was that?
That are respecting the rules.
Let's listen to this.
Russia chose that way.
Okay. WEF declares countries need to respect global rules and says we have countries that are respecting their national interests going beyond the rules. What are they even talking about?
Countries that choose the way not to respect them.
So you want freedom for your people, that you're not following the goddamn WEF declaration, and you're going to follow the rules, right? You can't have any freedoms, because remember, we're trying to enslave all the people, the streetwalkers. We're going to tell them what to eat, where to go. We're going to track and trace them. We're going to listen to everything they do, watch everything they do. We're going to roll out central bank digital currencies on everyone, and then we're also going to make them eat what we want them to eat. And now apparently, now eggs are bad and expensive. Oil and fuel's gone up, and electricity prices have gone up. And we're telling you to buy more electric vehicles, or those not have charging stations, or materials to actually produce them all. But you have to drive them. And we're rolling out the Green New Scam, whereby you will have windmills in your backyard. That won't annoy you at all, I guarantee it. And you'll have batteries everywhere as far as the eye can see. But the problem is sometimes there's not enough base loads, so you might get rolling blackouts. But that's no big issue, because you got plenty of bugs. You'll have a cricket farm, but you won't be able to have chicken or eggs. You know, a cricket farm good, chicken farm bad.
And Russia chose that way. So we have countries that are respecting the rules, and we have countries that are respecting their national interest.
Respecting their national interest. Okay, so I don't want to pay more for my fuel. That would be my national interest, but you're telling me I have to. Okay, so no, I'm not voting for this one either. I'm telling you.
It's going beyond the rules, and that is what is happening, and we have to take into consideration.
You know, because like we're the WEF. We're trying to tell you just eat the goddamn bugs. We're trying to tell you, like, you won't listen. We're trying to get you to roll out these central bank digital currencies for all your 114 nations, but you just won't do it. I'm telling you, it's for your own safety. You're handing your keys to your petrol car because you need your electric vehicle. I know we're on back order. We haven't quite got enough materials. We've got the slave farms pumping out the lithium mines. You know, they're working overtime there. You know, but it's all good. With the World Economic Forum, we have you covered. Trust us. Now here, eat the bugs.
The world order.
Okay, what else we got? Oh, this is my favorite. Can you wait to live in the 5-minute city utopia, which they claim will be 100% solar and wind powered, occupied by millions? You'll be stacked like sardines with no freedom. Or will be completed by 2041. Now, it could be an absolute utopia, and like, it could be good for the environment, and you could be stacked on top of each other and have super fresh air everywhere. Maybe we get like some insane machines, air filters everywhere. Everything is recycled, and it actually is a utopia. Or it might be like some hellhole that we want to escape desperately, but we won't be able to because there'll be nothing else left. Because what are they planning on doing with the rest of the cities? What, just abandoning them and having ghost cities like they have in China? So they're saying, everyone leave the current cities and go into the little prisons. So you're telling us to leave our homes, go into the prison. Why don't they tell you to go out on the farm? Why don't they tell you to grow your own food? Oh, that's evil now because you get to eat the bugs. Like...
So this video is a video of the principle of the line, which is...
Oh, and especially if you want to like invest in cryptocurrencies, no, that's not going to happen in this one. You won't need cryptocurrency.
Really,
you won't need money because you own nothing and you will be happy. Get it? Own nothing. You have no wants. You have no needs. So you have no need for fiat currency or cryptocurrency or anything else. But you have a central bank digital currency that can control everything. Hang on, wait. Oh yeah, wait. You know
how the revolution in urban design that NEOM is pioneering, and we can talk a little bit more about that as we go through the rest of the panel in the session.
See, you're going to be taken away forcibly from your home and put in a little jail cell, and you'll like it. This is just compacting all the bodies together.
So when I'm looking at this as a grid infrastructure.
Don't worry, it's not hurting anyone.
Basically the way it works is
if you say that hurts, you're a
170
conspiracy
kilometers
theorist.
long, 200 meters wide, 500 meters high.
We're gonna demolish straight through the main cities right now. You know, just bulldoze like SimCity if you ever played that game. Just delete, destroy everything, and install our little prison cells for you. But you like it because you own nothing, and you will be happy. You'll be so happy. I guarantee it. Anyway.
The height is from the sea level. So as you go inwards and the topography actually goes up, then the height of the actual building structure.
And don't worry, we'll have the suicide nets everywhere, so people won't be able to. They won't be miserable, so they won't even need them. We'll just put them there for precautionary measures. We're not really sure why they're there, you know.
Reduces until you get to the mountains where it actually you no longer have a mirror line. The idea is about what we call zero gravity urbanism, which is not necessarily having to be linked and anchored to a ground. How can we think of cities that go vertical and not only horizontal? This has many benefits. It's 5.
Shit. So that sounds like a really good sales pitch, but then when you're in like a 20-foot pod, living on top of each other, stacked on top of each other, and then you work from home, and the food's delivered to you. That's wonderful. That's how they're selling it. That's my vision of it. But like I said, I could be wrong. It could be the utopia that I never thought of. But I have some serious doubts about these people and their plans for us all.
5 minutes walk from all of your needs. Each module is 800 meters wide, and each module will take 80,000 people on average. Obviously, some are going to be more densely populated than others. And when you do it this way, you're only 5 minutes walk away from your school, your hospital, supermarket. The other thing is that the catchment area becomes a lot bigger. The catchment area for businesses becomes an 80,000 catchment area within a 5 minute walk.
And you got to make sure you're vaccinated to enter these things. This will be a privilege.
Which, as you can understand,
this will be the only places that have food left. You'll be dying. You'll be begging for us to let you in.
And instead of opening many pharmacies or many stores, that one store will service a much bigger catchment area than it typically does in other cities that have, 15, 20,000 people in even dense cities, catchment areas like New York and London.
Okay, if for instance they were like talking about building this on the moon or Mars, maybe, because you have I'm guessing there's no air. You got to have your spacesuits on if you're not inside of the little dome. There's pressurized and everything. That would make more sense. So maybe they're conditioning us to live like this. I don't know.
The idea as well is to reduce the footprint. So imagine 9 million people living on 34 square kilometers. And if you compare that to other cities, it's almost the 2% of the size of London, yet taking the same amount of population at end state.
That sounds wonderful. Just stacked on top of each other.
First module is going to finish in 2027. And
dude, they're building these things.
And as you can imagine, this is a generational project. So it will continue to go on until 2045 when the whole project is complete. We think of this as not a start and an end. This is a city that is being built. So
this is a prison that's being built.
It's being designed forever. Yep. And hence the glass walls to give it its time.
Because, if you don't want to live in this city, you won't get any water because we're going to ban, water that you can consume. We're going to make it so expensive outside of these things that you're going to want to live in these things. We're going to have all the food in there. We're going to have all the electricity. We're going to have everything. And if you don't want to live in these things, you don't want to be vaccinated, you don't want to be chipped, then you can quite happily live out in the desert, as you can see. So you're either in the utopia or in the desert. You either comply fully or you get out and live in the desert and die because you want to own stuff. Like you can see that being. You can see that argument if you can see that argument. You should be able to anyway.
Timeless appeal, as well as a integration with nature in a way like you would never see before.
So what's happening to all the animals? Are you allowed to have pets in this thing? Where do they live? How are they farmed? How are they produced? Or wait, are we the animals? Like, what are the birds gonna do? You have bird shit everywhere. Like, no, we've captured all the birds. We put a roof on, and they're gonna fly around and shit on everything. What about insects? What about the bees? Isn't the bees like essential for... Okay, anyway. I should just stop thinking. I should just listen. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. End of all car travel. Oh, this will be a good one. I like this one. No car travel. I was thinking all electric cars, but no car travel.
Virtually no traffic. You can go to different places very efficiently.
Oh, no traffic. Okay.
Using cars. There are no cars.
Not one single car.
It's going to be different types of transportation that are, like I said, environmentally friendly. They will
you walk.
be. It's based on renewable energy.
Okay, let's listen to that again. Okay, so for anyone out there who likes to get in the car, go for a drive, who uses their car to earn a living, who likes to go on a boat and go fishing, who likes to travel to go on a holiday. What? Okay, wait. How are you going on holidays now? If you live in this little thing, are you allowed to leave, or are you, once you're in, you're like born in there, and when you have kids, they'll be born in there, and they'll all have barcodes on them, and then they will never know what it's like to live outside the Iron Dome of hell, and they'll be like, no, people never lived in houses and had farms and had went to the ocean and went to the lake. That'll be the conspiracy theory, like literally, like what?
Virtually no traffic. You can go to different.
What's a car, mommy and daddy? Like, okay.
Virtually no traffic. You can go to different places very efficiently without using cars. There are no cars.
Not one single car.
It's going to be different types of transportation that are, like I said, environmentally friendly. There will be. It's based on renewable energy.
It's based on renewable energy. What, like scooters? Or maybe there'll be hoverboards. You hover up and hover down. That'd be cool. I still don't want to live in there though. Oh, it gets better. You get implanted brain chips. So let's review. Let's review. So we have people, governments not following the laws. We have the New World Order needs to be built, and we have people who are going to live in these things. We stacked on top of each other. We don't know if you can actually leave or not. We don't know if you have a house outside of this, or if that'll be confiscated to build these things. We don't know. We don't know how we're going to be fed. We don't know how we're going to get water. We don't know a lot of things. But if you ask too many questions, maybe you won't ever get to live in these things. You have to live in the desert because all the resources will be used to build these things. Like, can you see that? Sounds crazy, but maybe that's actually a possibility.
I am a futurist. I'm not a perfect predictor of the future, but I'll give you my 1 year, 5 year, 10 year. So focusing in the world of wearable technology as opposed to implanted technology. And I do believe that within many of our lifetimes, we'll see healthy people using implanted brain technology as well. Then we can decode complex thought. But as healthy people in a widespread way start to have their brainwave data collected, the insights that we can gain through pattern recognition will exponentially increase and pretty quickly. So 5 years from now, what we can actually decode will be massively increased from where we are today, simply because we'll have a much greater data set from which we can actually create those correlations. Again.
So who's volunteering to have these things put in their brains, hey? Is she? Has she got one? Here, we're going to inject this into your brain. We're not sure what it will actually do. We've done it on some animals though. They seem to be okay. Every now and then they just died randomly, but it should be okay. We tested it.
I am a futurist. I'm not a perfect predictor of the future, but I'll give you my 1 year, 5 year, 10 year. So focusing in the world of wearable technology as opposed to implanted technology. And I do believe that within many of our lifetimes, we'll see healthy people using implanted brain technology.
Yeah, it'll be natural. We just jam it in your brain. It's all good. Right through the pineal gland. Start reading some data. Get some electric shocks going.
As well. Then we can decode complex thought. But as healthy...
Create some super soldiers while we're at it.
people in a widespread way start to have their brainwave data collected, the insights that we can gain through pattern recognition will exponentially.
It'll be for convenience. You might be able to log in, be able to look at your screen, be able to type with your mind. Hopefully you're still alive, but you know, the computer will be doing something, the chip will be doing something, that's for sure.
Increase and pretty quickly. So 5 years from now, what we can actually decode will be massively increased from where we are today, simply because we'll have a much greater data set from which we can actually create those correlations. Again, that's frightening but promising. So you have recognition memory signals that are preconscious and subconscious, and this is part of why it's been used, for example, by governments to interrogate criminals. Do you recognize this potential?
That reminds me of the part of the brain where they said they're not sure whether or not you think you're the thought or... Oh, I can't think of the documentary. I don't know if you've seen it, and it's like they said that they measured a part of the brain that was going to move, you know, like a limb, and as they were measuring the brain, basically it was as if it already knew what was going to happen before. So that brought into the whole argument how consciousness exists, whether or not it's like literally pre-programmed, because it almost knew that it was going to move before it did. It was very strange, very interesting stuff. I'll try and find that documentary and bring it up. I bet you I've lost it in there. I should have saved it when I saw it. But yeah, sorry, that was completely different to what I'm thinking, to what these people are thinking.
Co-conspirator, do you recognize you know, this murder weapon? Those pre-conscious signals, like what we call the P300 wave or the N400 wave, these are before you even consciously process information, so you could prime it with a...
So it could be what she's talking about in a similar way there.
Number, and then see if a person recognizes it. And you can do it with...
Actually, no, it's different.
Without them realizing that that's what you're doing.
So will all of our passwords be cracked first by this or quantum computing? Hard to tell. All right.
I think we're moving
what was it? Hang on.
That's what you're doing.
So will all of our passwords be cracked first by this or quantum computing? Hard to tell. All right.
I think we're moving past passwords pretty quickly. And
I saw a hand go up.
Really good.
Yeah, we're moving past. We're moving past passwords pretty quickly because we'll just like use your brainwave patterns. Can that be copied? Next question. Can that be forked? Next question. Will there be any security issues? Next question. Can we hack your mind? Next question. Can someone else access your mind? Next question.
For passwords, neural signatures are unique. We can use it as a
neural signatures are unique, just like a fingerprint, you know. But if it's a neural signature in a digital format, couldn't you copy paste? No, that's way no. It's way too. Oh yeah, you probably could. Yeah, probably could. Yeah. Anyway,
you need to know who's been vaccinated and who hasn't been. Some of the vaccines.
Oh, this is the best. I love this guy.
You need to know who's been vaccinated and who hasn't been. Some of the vaccines that will
we need to know.
Down the line will be multiple. There'll be multiple shots. So you've got to have, for reasons to do with the healthcare more generally, but certainly
look how happy he is.
A pandemic.
He's like, we're just gonna control these assholes so good. They're not gonna have a car. They're not gonna have a house. They're not gonna own anything. They're gonna be eating God knows what. They're gonna have chips in their brain. We can tell them when they're hungry, when they're not hungry. Man, there's these suckers. They're not gonna know what to do. We're gonna hoard them into a prison, and they're gonna love it. The useless streetwalkers, the useless feeders, all gonna live in their prisons.
Or the vaccines, you've got to have digital infrastructure, and many countries don't have that. In fact, most countries don't have that.
Oh yeah, okay, it's getting late. Is it too noisy? Sorry, yelling. Alright, gotta keep it down. I've disturbed the missus.
You need to know who's been vaccinated and
you need to know who's been vaccinated.
Some of the vaccines that will come on down the line.
Are you serious, man?
There'll be multiple shots. So you've got to have, for reasons to do with the healthcare more generally, but certainly for a pandemic or for vaccines, you've got to have
imagine a pandemic ripping through one of these cities.
Don't have that. In fact, most countries don't have that.
It's like, oh, we put them all in these pens, and this virus came along, and they all died. We don't know. We don't know what happened. We don't know what happened. It's alright. We're building another one. It's fine. we got rid of the organic matter. It's fine. We still got the machines. They're cool, but we just get some new organic matter in there. We're not sure what the organic matter does anymore, but we put them in these little things, and they'll live there like organisms.
The odds, in my view, are better than 50-50 that there will be a COVID scale problem within the next 15 years. The odds, in my view, are better than 50-50 that there will be a COVID scale problem within the next 15 years.
What do you mean a COVID scale problem?
The odds, in my view, are better than 50-50 that there will be a COVID scale.
Man, I don't like this at all. Crackdown on disinformation that's preventing people from taking vaccines. Oh, this will be a good one. This would be a very good one.
The clear and present danger of disinformation is our conversation here this afternoon. It follows a session just now about disrupting distrust. And of course, those are connected. So I hope that's where we can start. I'm Brian Stelter, formerly of CNN, now a fellow at Harvard University. We can try to put some real information out into the world to make up for all the crazy. I'll tell you a brief, funny, maybe not funny story. So I leave CNN with regards to 2016 and Trump showing that lying works. Has that only become more true in the last 6 years? Do you see evidence that it's less true, hopefully, now? But haven't we seen many Democrats in the last 6 years pressuring Facebook and Twitter and now TikTok to be stronger in content moderation? Hasn't that been a wave that we've seen crash over for years now?
Well, I think this is the question of, ultimately what we're trying to achieve there is some measure of public
once we
safety,
achieve this,
right?
But before we can achieve this, we're going to roll out central bank digital currencies. And then that way, then we'll just be able to tell them that if you don't say the right thing, then we'll just cut off your funding,
We're not...
it's almost ready. It's almost ready, Brian. We're getting there. We're working on it.
Get angry at Facebook if they see things that are mean. The difference is when, I have a constituency that I'm trying to keep healthy, and I...
As soon what they're going to do, they install a brain chip in your mind, and as soon as you have a thought that, you disagree with anything that someone else says you should, like the WEF, your brain will implode. And you have to forcibly have this injected into your brain upon entry into the prison pen, the shiny prison pen. No, I'm kidding. Oh my God.
The clear and present danger of disinformation is our conversation here this afternoon. It follows a session just now about disrupting distrust. And of course, those are connected. So I hope that's where we...
Distrust of things that aren't factually correct. That's very dangerous indeed.
We can start. I'm Brian Stelter, formerly...
God forbid what could happen if you distrust things that are factually incorrect.
Of CNN, now a fellow at Harvard University. We can try to put some real information out into the world to make up for all the crazy. I'll tell you a brief, funny, maybe not funny story. So I leave CNN.
The end of free... Okay. Dude, you can't end free speech. What am I going to do?
Well, we need the people who understand the language and the case law.
Okay, this is the good one. This is the kicker. So far what we've seen, it goes on and on and on. In closing, WEF is increasingly becoming an unelected world government that the people never asked for and don't want. Hey, I kind of agree. On that note, I might sign out. But before I do, I'm not sure if I should leave a link to this stuff. This is unbelievable. The stuff that they're talking about. End of free speech.
We need the people who understand the language and the case law in the country. Because what qualifies as hate speech, as illegal hate speech, which you will have soon also in the US, I think that we have...
I love how no one's laughing.
A strong reason why we have this in the criminal law. We need the platforms.
We need the brain chip, so if you think this hateful speech, then we can fine you automatically, and you won't be able to leave your room for the day.
To simply work with the language and to identify such cases, the AI would be too dangerous. Well,
this is unbelievable. yeah, I think you get the gist what I'm trying to achieve here, basically, that I don't like where this is heading, where it could go. I think we seriously need to push back on this because the possibilities for corruption is huge. The risk it presents is huge, but it'll be told that if you disagree with any of these policies, then somehow you are wrong. And I strongly disagree with basically all of them. If someone can prove to me why I need this in my life, then I'll happily hear the logic. And if you can change my logic, I will agree. But so far, I am not hearing anything that is logical. I'm hearing talking points, I'm hearing narratives, and I'm envisioning a lot of people who thought jabs were a great thing, and the whole feeling behind the jab and how it feels so great, as Trudeau said, and then they've all gone quiet. I can see those same people being tricked into ending all car travel and living in a prison and having implants put in their brains and ending hate speech and ending free speech, because it might be deemed hate speech by someone else, and being monitored to make sure you're all vaccinated and up to date, and whatever COVID scale is. And we've got to crack down on the misinformation, and also, we're going to change the culture, and also we have a one world religion based on environmentalism, and we have the Al Gore going unhinged mode, and yeah, Elon Musk chiming in, which is interesting because he's working on Neuralink. So we've got all that going on after we analyzed how the what's actually going to take place in the US Congress or regarding the debt ceiling. We have this sort of distraction here. You've got Alec Baldwin, you've got Cosby, you've got the war. In closing, I'd like to draw attention to this one. Now, if anyone basically an urgent request for UFO government whistleblowers. There's some pretty interesting stuff going on in this section. I'll play this and then I'll sign out.
This is OutSystems, the most complete full-stack application development platform for professional developers.
Intelligence Joint Staff were also being denied access, being deceived, and threatened by this rogue, thuggish group. Based on that, we said, because of this, all national security oaths and non-disclosure agreements are null and void. Because the underlying program that they've been in, even though they didn't know it, is being run outside the law, against the law itself. Now, from 1997 to now, no one in the U.S. government has contradicted that assessment. And the way this works is once it's sent and it was signed and receipted and sent back to us, if they don't intervene, I think we put 90 days on it, which would have been 25 years ago, early 1998, then you can proceed. This mechanism is very nicely done. And that's how I got the first group of disclosure witnesses, about 100 of them that you see in the disclosure book and at the National Press Club, 20 of them were there. Well, those men and women were convinced that that was true, so they courageously came forward. Now we have that in place, plus an officially sanctioned law for people to come forward. So now there's no excuse. We have a door wide open. I've been working with the people who have been central to creating that. And I personally hand off the information and the personnel. So if someone comes to me, I will meet with them and then bring them to where they're then taken into a secure compartmented information facility, SCIF, or the vault. It's called the vault. And they can share everything. And the people they're speaking to have the highest clearance to receive everything. And these guys, a year on working with them, they're the real thing. They're honest, they're courageous,
Yeah, so, like, I guess in this particular video, I'm sort of covering a lot. It started off very boring with how the politics and how the media plays theatre with straightforward processes and lack of understanding by the masses allows for different interpretations of what is actually going on. Now, then I covered basically how it's a conspiracy that a big group is getting together talking about how to literally guide humanity and their thoughts on how it should all be, how we should all evolve, basically, is what I'm pointing out here. And I kind of disagree with a lot of this because I don't remember voting for any of this. And if this starts appearing and I have to start adhering to this, my question is going to be, hang on, how free am I if this is taking place? Then I covered basically there's a lot of stuff we can be distracted with, so much stuff, including the war. And that's not to say it's irrelevant at all. It's just to say that if you want to, you can go down digging as many rabbit holes as you want to keep you distracted, or you can watch sport, or you can play sport, whatever. You know, there's a big wide world out there. Then I covered things that could actually maybe help achieve Type 1 civilization status, because this sounds crazy, but if there was technologies being suppressed and things like that, maybe this is a chance for people to reveal it, like legally and lawfully. And should that take place, maybe we wouldn't need to be living in these little prisons. Maybe we get some other cool tech released, you know, life extension, space travel is better than rockets that land themselves. You know, that's the way my mind works anyway. But I guess the main thing is, if you have like spaceships, what propels the spaceships, you know? The same things that propel the spaceships could probably propel weapons, but they could probably also power the entire world. But yeah, so that is my little talk for the day, the night, wherever you may be tuning into this. And pray for peace, and hopefully we don't blow ourselves off the face of the map. And hopefully, you know, we can all sort of, honestly don't know at this point, we can all eat the bugs. Signing out.